And once guys get into the business, and here's my message. I feel like I already made it, but I want to make it again. They've got to reprogram themselves. Hollywood agents are now running the business. On the other side where I'm at, Viacom is running the business. They're not looking to find out who the best is. They're looking to generate revenue and move the company down the line. Now, that's not to say that skills don't matter. That's not to say that ranking systems don't matter. What it is to say is you need to embrace the other side of it. And once I see a fighter, and we'll use Maia by example, and I'm not positive he's the guy that gave the quote, but he believes that. I've heard other things that he says. I'll use Maia by example. You've got a guy that's absolutely fantastic, who recognizes what it is that they're looking for and looking to promote, who recognizes that regardless of his own wins and losses, he has been a little bit stuck in the mud and lost in the shuffle. And even while recognizing it, he is resisting doing what he acknowledges needs to be done. Demian Maia should have a goal in 2017 to be on SportsCenter and figure out how he's going to get there. Demian Maia should have a goal in 2017 to be on Jim Rome's show and figure out how to get there. And instead, I believe he's trying to figure out how he's going to sweep his next opponent and set up his rear naked choke. Those are good things. Those sweeps and those rear naked chokes are good things, but don't leave out the other side of it. Don't leave out the lesson that we learned from Conan Silveira making his entire team 3 days a week mandatory go and learn English because he felt that it made them more marketable. And he's exactly right, but there's lessons there, and some of these lessons are never told. Conan shared this with me at a coffee shop in England alone. And I'm thinking, Conan, you need to go out and tell the whole world this because you're spot on. You're making a great message for these guys. When I look at somebody like Maia, it's like, Demian, you do everything right. You're a likable guy. You're a straight-up gangster. But you're now pointing your finger at something that you're acknowledging needs to be done to push you into the opportunities that you want, and then you're not doing it. You know, you and I talk about Ben Askren on here a lot. But one thing that Ben Askren had, and he had it from the time he was 24 years old and he was headed to Beijing for the Olympics and he was going to put the chin in China. That was the single greatest marketing thing amateur wrestling has ever seen. And it hasn't been duplicated because as soon as Ben got done, he took his marketing into mixed martial arts. He's now 12 or 13-0, 14-0. He's completely undefeated. He's the champion of every organization he touched. But he understands, I need to get my name out there more. I'm fighting over in Asia, but I'm trying to win over a North American audience. I've got to convince these people. He has small goals in mind of how he's going to do that. And then he follows them. And some of these athletes that are feeling that they're being lost in the shuffle because they're not charismatic enough or they're not outspoken enough, man, they've all got something, but they've got to figure out it all starts with a goal. And if when you're putting your goal list together, being on SportsCenter isn't there, talking to Jim Rome isn't there, you're out of your mind. You know, the first time I talked to Rome, Rome's biggest sports guy in the nation, has been for like 17 years. He's been at number one. Was it number 2 for 3 before that? Biggest sports guy in the country, without a question. First time I went on Jim Rome, Vice President of PR for the UFC drove me over there, Jen Wink. She said to me, Chael, you're the second athlete ever from the UFC to be on Rome. The first athlete ever was Brock Lesnar, and he got 2 minutes and 36 seconds. She had the exact time down. Brock Lesnar got 2 minutes and 36 seconds. When I went on Rome, I got 4 minutes and 34 seconds. These are wins, but these are numbers that people don't ever think of. You need to get on those shows, and then you want to be on there long. You want to be 2 segments. These are the kinds of goals that you need to have. There's all sorts of records out there, and the ultimate one is to have that 12-pound gold belt. But another great record is to have the North American live attendance record. It's to have the gate revenue. It's to have the pay-per-view record. It's to sell more merchandise than anybody. These are all goals. They're all meaningful. They're all quantifiable. And they've got to be considered by these athletes. And the top athletes understand that and they embrace it. And I can point to some real hammers out there, Joel, that made a ton of money, but they left just as much on the table. Anderson Silva is one of those guys. Anderson Silva, once he became the UFC champion, was able to get pay-per-view points built into his contract. That's policy by the UFC. This is unadvertised and people don't know it, but I'll reveal it for him now. If you win that strap, they are going to bring you into Las Vegas, sit you down, tear up your contract, and offer you a new one that includes pay-per-view points. As soon as you lose that belt, you will lose that clause. But that's how they look after guys. That's how they take care of their champions and incentivize guys to do this. So Anderson Silva was in that spot because don't forget, he won the championship his second fight in. His first fight was Chris Lieben. His second fight was Rich Franklin when he put Rich's nose over by his ear and left there with the belt. So he was in on pay-per-view points from the jump, but he's got to meet certain thresholds. And Anderson would barely meet his thresholds. So his pay-per-view bonus would be so low at times. Sometimes they'd be 7 figures, but sometimes they would be so incredibly low. It's because he refused to do the media. And he's sitting back and going, well, I'm wildly successful. Who's anybody to tell me? I'm making 7 figures. I'm the champion. I'm on the top of the bill. And you're going, yeah, Anderson, but the arena isn't sold out. The pay-per-views numbers suck. And you are the guy with the greatest skill. So let's combine the two. Let's go out and talk to the media. Let's not pretend we don't understand English. Let's not go spend an extra 2 hours in the gym to try to grow our career when you could go spend 40 minutes on somebody's couch telling the world why you're interesting. Now, he gets to choose his path, and he may be happy with his choice. But for me to critique him and say that he left an equal amount of money on the table as he made is an accurate depiction of the history of his career. Now, the choice is his. However, he doesn't get to come out and complain after the fact. If he wants to be like an Eddie Alvarez, like a Michael Chandler, we're seeing it with the Big Ferg, Tony Ferguson, who's getting out there, being charismatic, working the gimmick.
Big Ferg?
Big Ferg.
Big Ferg.
Then these are the guys that are going to have a spot and they're going to be remembered, but their goals are a little bit different. The Ben Askren approach, a little bit different goals.
I tell you, one person right now who is the toughest man on the planet, his name is Stipe. Now, Stipe, he doesn't need to be anybody he's not. He just needs to let everybody know who he is, who is a hard-working, loyal badass. He doesn't need to sing and dance for anybody, but he's got to figure out a way to get out there. Right now, we don't know where he's at because he's pissed off with the money he's making. I think that's a guy that you're kind of speaking on is don't change. You don't have to change who you are. You just have to figure out how you can get that message out there. He came on the show 2 times, both times within 24 hours of winning and defending his world championship. Great guy, but not everybody knows about him.
Yeah, no, that's an absolute reality. Look, one of the hardest things that you can do in the world, one of the hardest things to do is to have people be interested in you. It's one of the hardest things, and some guys are going out and they're crafting their media presence and how they're going to go about it, and some guys are adopting characters or personas. Some guys are going to make it with that, but it's a very low amount. These guys are not good enough actors to be on point. I've seen guys, you and I gave Ben Rothwell a hard time on the show because he had a scripted promo. He dropped it on John Anik, and he should have walked out of the ring. It was a good promo. He scripted a very nice couple of lines. He hit them, but then Anik gave him a follow-up question. Rothwell was not prepared for the follow-up question, so he had to drop the shtick. He had to drop the body language. He had to drop the tone that he was speaking in. He had to drop the merits of all of it and then just go back to being Ben Rothwell, and he wasn't ready for that. And our critique of it was simply, if you have something prepared, drop the mic and walk out if you're in a character. Now, if you're being yourself, and this would be my second piece of advice, just be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to be The Rock. Don't try to be Stone Cold. Don't try to be Connor. Be yourself, but then turn it up. These guys are very interesting, and they've got very interesting stories. Some of them get too shy to tell their story. And they're like, look, I just want to fight. I just want to fight. It's like, well, I know that you keep saying I just want to fight. But where you're going to fight and how you're going to be compensated for that is directly related to how many people are interested in you. So before you say I'll see guys, Joel, go to press conferences, showed up in suits, And when they finally get a question thrown to them, they'll say, I just want to fight, or they'll say, I don't care, or they'll say, we'll see what happens on Saturday. Well, or they'll say, here, this is a great one. This is actually my favorite. When their opponent says something and their rebuttal is, he's just talking. Well, it's a press conference, you dumb son of a bitch. What do you think we're doing at a press conference? What do you think that term means? Why do you think we're sitting here in suits with the media in front of you asking us questions and microphones? Why do you think you didn't show up with your mouthpiece and your gloves? This isn't the fight. This is the press conference. Well, he's just talking. Well, that's what he should be doing. He should be talking, and he should be making people interested. This is 101. And the fact that we're having to come out here and tell this to a guy like Demian Maia, who's a veteran, who's been around, who's on a streak, so many I can't even count. What's he won? 8 of his last 9 or something
1,000.
stupid? Over hammers. Absolutely hammers.
Same position, too.
Yeah, and it's like,
same
Demian,
position, too.
You're a veteran. You should be sitting where I'm sitting right now, teaching this to the next group. You should be looking at it and saying, hey, guys, here's where the sport's going. This is what I've observed. And I'm going to be like Conan Silveira, and I'm going to make my guys and my students, along with learning their arm bars and their guillotines, their little jabs and their little kicks, I'm going to make them learn how to be a little bit more exciting. How to look somebody in the eye when they ask you a question. How, when you show up to a press conference, you have something prepared. I used to go to press conferences, Joel, and people would say to me after, they go, well, a lot of people are saying that you had that prepared before you came in. I'm thinking, why in the hell would I show up to anything that I know about in advance and not prepare? I would never go into a test in school without reading the book the day before. Never. If I'm going into a press conference, I'm going to have things to say. If I'm going into a fight, I'm going to go in with my combative skills as sharp as I can get them.